This
donor
conference will
match.
now be recorded.
Mr. Green being a perfect donor match, altruistically and without hesitation, donated a kidney to his father on July 17th, 2020. And whereas Mr. Green and his father have fully recovered from their operations, now therefore the Norristown Municipal Council recognizes and honors the selfless contributions of Nicholas Green to give the gift of life to his father, proclaimed this first day of December 2020. Derek Perry, President of Council.
I never heard nobody just kill my name like that, but
I don't know what happened. I'm just off tonight. I apologize.
Council, any comment? Because I'm excited about this. Any comment from council? I'll let you guys go first. Okay, seeing none. All right. Well, Mr. Green, I want to personally hand you this proclamation. It brings us great honor for a young man like yourself to be such a selfless person, you know, and you know, man, I can't even say the words that I want to get out of my mouth, but man, you're a light to this world, and I'm pretty sure your father's very happy, and you keep on doing your thing, man. God is going to bless you one of these days for doing such a great act. We appreciate you, and I'm pretty sure your father appreciates you. Madam Vice President, can we have announcements, please?
Yes, we can. There are expanded hours for the Montgomery County COVID testing sites. So testing is now available from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Fridays. You've got longer hours and more days. And also registration online opens at 7 a.m. now. It used to be a little bit later. So you can register for a test online at moncopa.org/COVID-19. And phone registration still opens at 8:30 a.m. at 610-970-2937. More excitingly, there will be a very special visitor at the Norristown Recreation Center on December 21st. Santa will be doing a holiday meet and greet, so grab the kiddos and bring them by to meet the big guy from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. on December 21st. And those are the announcements I have.
Council, any other announcements? Councilman Jones.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a minute to thank the Norristown Fire Department and the police departments for the work they're doing around the holiday drives, and also the work that they've been doing, including many community partners to deliver everything from Thanksgiving meals to holiday gifts to more than 100 families. So just commend you guys for the work that you're doing, and I'm sure we may hear about more of it later.
Definitely appreciate it. Yes, that's some great stuff. Any other?
Yes, I do, President Perry.
I seen you, Councilwoman Scott Cooper and Councilwoman Sanders.
The Help a Single Parent Foundation will be holding a fundraiser this coming Sunday, an NFL tailgate fundraiser in the parking lot of Crazy Aaron's at 700 East Main Street from 12 to 7. They will be showing on a large screen the football games, and we are asking for donations for those who cannot come or choose not to come, but to help with donations so that we can continue doing what we do every year, which is help single parents and their children around the Christmas holiday. You can see either myself or Sonia Sanders. We both have tickets that we're selling for this function. And it is $50 for a carload, and a carload would be not to exceed 5 members in the car. Thank you.
Councilwoman Sanders.
Actually, I was first, Councilwoman Scott Cooper, but Val actually stated what I needed to say in terms of help a single parent. And I just wanted to ditto what Councilman Hakeem Jones said in reference to our Norristown Fire Department, also in addition to our Norristown Police Department as well.
Yep, good stuff. Okay, any other announcements? All right, thank you. Madam Secretary, public comments?
Yes, we have one. David McMahon, 721 Hall Avenue. It has been a long road since last May when I first reached out to the Sewer Authority and its workers to learn more about the issues arising from the potential sale of our publicly owned sanitary sewer system and waste treatment facility to a private for-profit corporation such as Aqua Pennsylvania. What I saw there was a well-run organization that serves our community's current needs well and has the capacity and the talented management to meet our future needs, all while charging among the lowest rates in Pennsylvania. I saw a locally controlled public utility run by a volunteer board of 5 Norristown residents who understand the implications and impacts of their actions and decision-making on their friends and neighbors. I saw an organization carrying out a $10 million system upgrade, carefully planned out in such a way that the savings from the improvements themselves would cover the cost of the loan needed to carry out such work with no additional rates, fees, or costs to the ratepayers and residents of Norristown. I saw a $5 million yearly operation with a positive cash flow, whose assets account for fully 1/3 of what Norristown owns, that is well suited to meet Norristown's future needs. But one would never know this by the municipal administrators and majority of our council's deliberate mischaracterizations of the sewer authority, its workers, and its current capabilities. Even worse, though, the single most disturbing aspect of this whole potential sale is Section 5 of Ordinance 2014, where our council attempted to intimidate and silence under threat of personal lawsuit the board and employees of the sewer authority, who as residents of Norristown have every right to participate in evaluating and expressing their opinions on a transaction of such magnitude and permanence as this sale would have been. They felt that even in their capacity as private citizens, they could not take part in remedies as laid out in our home rule charter to discuss and petition their friends and neighbors in a most basic democratic process. That the employees of a local public utility could not have a say in determining the future of their own work and participate in the local governing of their own hometown is what was especially shameful. It remains to be seen if it was legal. To that end, in the morning, we'll be filing a right-to-know request with the Municipal Administrator's Office for pertinent documents related to discussion and drafting of Ordinance 2014, especially Section 5, and whether that language was prepared by our recused solicitor, Sean Kilkenny, or the municipality's interim solicitor, Thomas Wyatt. I hope after this evening we can look into the don't necessarily of Norristown residents, especially those on fixed incomes and those already struggling to make ends meet. The residents of Norristown have been spared the burden of sending millions upon millions of dollars out of our community to the exclusive benefit of the executives and shareholders of Aqua Pennsylvania, Aqua America, and national parent company Essential Utilities. At every layer of that corporate structure, they would have taken their cut. This is a win for our friends and neighbors who thought there was nothing they could do about this sale, that it was a done deal, and that they were powerless to affect any real change in their community, especially going up against a national corporate power in the form of Aqua PA. I am thankful to have met and worked with all those new friends and neighbors who have come together and persevered to stop this most recent local privatization effort. Sincerely, David McMahon. And that's it. I think I was on, was I? Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Is there any other person who wants to do a public comment while we have public comment open? Once it's closed, there will be no other public comments after this. Ms. Fecko, please go ahead. Please unmute Rachel Fecko's computer, or you can do it yourself, Ms. Fecko. Ms. Fecko, we're waiting on you. There you go. You were on there for a second. Yep, there you go.
Okay. Am I good?
You're good.
All right. I submitted mine, but I think maybe it was past 6:30. So I'm just going to read my public comment. My name is Rachel Fecko, 715 Noble Street here in Norristown. I'm just want to express that I'm thankful to know that the voice of our community has been heard loud and clear regarding the sewer sale. I thank Vice President Smith and Councilman Jones for listening to those that they represent. I encourage the rest of you to follow their example and to learn from the research they have done on the matter as well. I'm heartened to see how the voice of many, when working together, can be more powerful than the seeming giant of a corporation. But Aqua is not the only private predator with its sights on our municipality, and a lot of work lies ahead for those of us who care about the future of Norristown. But we will tirelessly do whatever it takes to block privatization and gentrification and to seek sustainable ways of funding development and ensuring that development is in the interest of all Norristown's diverse residents, future and current. And as always, I love you, Norristown. Thank you.
Okay, I see no other people that came into the chat, so we'll move along. Mr. Jones, can you do resolution number 20-102, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Council Resolution number 20-102 is an appointment of Stormwater Advisory Committee members. And just as a little background, as you know, Council, last year, you approved a contract with HGR Consulting for us to begin investigation of establishing a stormwater utility in order to deal with all of the stormwater issues and MS4 requirements we have with the state for managing stormwater in Norristown. We did send out a number of inquiries, both to council and others, regarding getting members to be on this temporary committee. This is not a policy committee, but actually a temporary committee, project committee, related solely to this one particular project. After really lots of outreach, we did get some folks who agreed to participate on the Stormwater Committee, and there are specific requirements in terms of the types of folks you want to have on the committee, in terms of residents, in terms of county personnel, in terms of school board personnel, in terms of churches, and we also have council members, 2 council members represented as well. There are also spots on this for business, both small and large, and for church. As I mentioned earlier, we made a number of efforts to recruit for those 3 slots, and we're still recruiting for those 3 slots, and we'll hope to bring some representatives before council shortly. The challenge is everybody else has agreed to participate. The consultant that we're working with and the staff, we've done all of the preparatory work that needs to be done to begin the education of the committee and ultimately to start establishing some community meetings so that we can begin both educating and getting feedback from the public. We're still interested, certainly, if council has any more recommendations related to particularly those churches. We did contact the ministerium and some specific churches, and we've yet to get a commitment and we've contacted multiple businesses and have yet to get a commitment as well. And the reason you want such a wide berth of folks and different types represented on there is because should a stormwater utility fee be implemented, then that fee would apply to government, nonprofit, whoever has impervious surface in town, parking lots, driveways, etc. And so the representation that's needed to be on there is to make sure that every entity would have an opportunity to go back to their various constituents, not only to help them understand, but to encourage them to participate in the series of community meetings around this issue that will come up. Well, with that being said, I also have Allison Lee from Pannoni, who is our engineering firm, and one of the municipal personnel that are serving as advisors in a staff consulting position. The others would be Kathy Pfister, who is our Deputy Finance Director, and Thomas Odenabo, who is our Public Works Director, would participate in advisory role to the committee as well. So with that being said, our request is for council to approve Wally Harris to represent the community, Waylon Rosa, Ragwalani Rosa to represent the community, Drew Shaw from the Montgomery County Planning Commission to represent the county, Rebecca Swanson from the Redevelopment Authority to represent the authority, Councilmember Hakeem Jones, Chris Dormer has volunteered to represent the school district, Council President Perry, and the three staffers thus far that we've named as participants. And so with that, we're asking council consideration to approve these appointments so that the education and outreach process can begin.
I'm off mute.
Council, any questions or comments? Council Vice President Smith.
Thank you. I've got two, I think probably pretty quick questions. My first was, what were the methods of reaching out to the community to see if anybody wanted to volunteer? And then the second was if any nonprofits other than churches were asked to participate.
The methods were, we certainly asked council, but we posted it as well on our website and did solicitations on all our media and website as well. There was some personal conversations that went on, for instance, to specific businesses. I know I talked to the president of the ministerium, and there was some other direct outreach to other churches. I think we sent out to some other nonprofits. I don't know if Lisa is on the call because she was running that on my behalf. But that was really the crux of how the I think we even put an advertisement in the paper, if I can recall.
Last mini question. Do we
Sure.
keep a running list of everybody who's gone through like the citizens?
Yes,
but yeah.
they get it. They as a matter of fact, Citizens Leadership Academy, we do maintain that. They all get it. Citizens Leadership Academy, the Police Academy, folks who volunteer before definitely do get it.
Right,
Every time
thank
we
you.
look for volunteers, they get it. Yes.
Councilman Jones.
Yeah, Mr. Jones Crandall, I was wondering if you could just give the community some background on stormwater issues, the state of Pennsylvania, and what local municipalities like ourselves are tasked to do over the next several months.
Sure. And I'm gonna let Allison follow me very quickly on this because she specializes particularly in understanding the MS4 requirements. But essentially this, we are, as all our municipalities are required to do, we are under requirement by the state that we do specific things to manage stormwater runoff in our communities, to deal with the issues of flooding, which we know there are a lot of issues with flooding in Norristown and all over Pennsylvania. Establishing stormwater utilities is a response that a lot of communities are doing around the nation. It's picking up more recently in Pennsylvania in recent years, but I know I've had experience in establishing one as a manager when I was in Georgia. But as again, there's no funding related to the mandates that the state has for each community. It's just a requirement that we have to do it. We have to submit annually to the state a report on our efforts and the progress we're making toward those efforts. Those efforts are substantial, and why most communities end up establishing a separate stormwater utility is because it's not covered in a budget, and as it isn't in our budget. And what you end up doing is siphoning off money from most of the time from your public works operations that's charged with doing other things than stormwater, and you don't have an opportunity to have a situation where you're doing any real capital planning for projects, and you end up reacting to when, for instance, sinkholes, et cetera, happen. One of the advantages also of establishing a stormwater utility is that opens up the possibility of grants to deal with major stormwater issues in communities. So you can apply to grants and to get and match your funds with those. Allison, please feel free to chime in and add some additional color to that.
Thanks, Crandall. I can go through a history of basically the MS4 program. We'll start with stormwater management, which I believe everyone has some kind of an idea what it basically is, which is an attempt to control the rainwater, specifically the runoff part of the rainwater that doesn't infiltrate into the ground because of the impervious coverages on the surface. And instead, the runoff basically collects all kinds of pollutants and debris from the streets and all the impervious coverages, parking lots. It carries the oil, the grease, the trash, and litter that collects into an inlet or catch basin, and then eventually ends up either into one of the streams like Stony Creek or Sawmill Run, and eventually the Schuylkill River. So then the water basically gets degraded because of the pollutants and makes the waterways impaired. And because of that, the impairments to the waterways in the U.S. Brought about the MPDS MS4 program, which is an unfunded mandate again, stems from the provisions and amendments of the Clean Water Act and PA's Clean Stream laws. I think I said a lot of abbreviations. So MPDS, which means National Pollutant Discharge and Elimination. And then there's MS4, which is the Municipal Separate Storm Sewers. And because Norristown does not have, I believe, storm and sanitary sewers that combined like the city of Philadelphia, Norristown is an MS4 separate storm sewers community. So Norristown's stormwater management program, I believe, is based on compliance with the protocols of this MS4 program under the MPDS general permit. Since the MS4 program started, I think back in 2002, there are 6 minimum control measures that DEP uses to determine whether you are or are not in compliance. And I'm not sure if everybody knows all 6 control measures, but I can briefly just list them. First one is public education and outreach. The second is public participation. Third control measure is the illicit discharge detection and elimination. And then 4 and 5 has to do with management of the site runoff during and after construction activities. And 6 is basically your good housekeeping for municipal operations. Then, with the current permit cycle, which got renewed in 2018, there's new requirements, which requires municipalities to reduce their pollutant loadings that's entering the waterways. For Norristown, you are required to reduce your pollutant loads for siltation by 10%. 10% doesn't seem like a lot, but it's actually enormous. And you only have a short period of time to do that. You have the 5-year permit, and your permit ends in 2023, so that's only 3 years. So as part of the permit compliance, also Norristown developed the pollutant reduction plan, which is kind of like a planning document that DEP wants to see how you are going to implement and do your pollutant reductions, and Norristown has to meet this guideline that you have to do it, or you're going to get fined by DEP. And I know I believe there were 2 municipalities in PA that got fined for violating their MS4 program. One is Wilkes-Barre, and the other one is Kingston Borough, which is up by the, I think, Lehigh Valley area. So, I mean, I think having a stormwater advisory committee, it's really a good effort, and it's definitely smart on your end, because the committee will have the capacity to assist and advise and maintain that the guidelines and the intent of the stormwater program are followed and well managed. So, if that helps understand the MS4 program a little bit.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Lee, for that detailed information. Also, any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Can we have a motion to pass resolution number 20-102, which is to approve the following appointments to the Stormwater Advisory Committee and all of the names? That was already said.
Second.
Madam Secretary, can we have roll call, please?
Valerie Scott Cooper,
Aye.
Hakeem Jones,
Aye.
Sonia Sanders. Okay, I can't hear Sonia. Heather Lewis. Okay, I think I heard Sonia. Heather Lewis, no. Thomas LaPera,
Aye.
Rebecca Smith,
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye, the ayes have it. Resolution number 20-102 passes. Next, Mr. Jones or Mr. Solicitor, can you get us for ordinance 20-14 or 20-21, please?
I'll be happy to, unless you want to take it, Mr. Solicitor.
Let me know if you need help, Mr. Jones. Thank you.
All right. So council, before you, you have ordinance 20-21, in which, and we're requesting a motion to advertise this ordinance to repeal Norristown Ordinance 20-14, which set forth the dissolution of the Norristown Municipal Waste Authority, and also authorizes the municipal administrator to take any and all necessary action to resolve any liquidation matters or remediate any other actions taken in accordance with Ordinance 20-14.
And if I may add, Mr. Jones, it's essentially a housekeeping matter. The sewer authority has an ongoing piece of litigation that in the event that they are not in fact dissolved would become moot. And so it's just, if council would want, it would allow us to make sure that we can have that wrapped up and resolved as well.
So, Mr. Solicitor, we're reading it the same exact way that is said on the paper here?
Correct. And as a reminder, this is a motion to advertise. This is not a motion to adopt the ordinance. This is merely to advertise, because you would have to adopt the ordinance and we have to advertise it before you adopt it.
Yep, I got that. Council, any questions or comments in regards to this? Councilman Jones.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge the residents and the NOPE organization for the work and the tireless efforts around this issue. Not a very attractive issue and not an easy issue. I do think the community had an opportunity to get caught up to speed and learn about it, and they definitely have a say in to what's happening right now. So I'm appreciative of the community and my colleague, Councilwoman Smith, who also opposed this motion.
Council, any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, can we have a motion to authorize the advertisement of Ordinance 20-21 for the repeal of Norristown Ordinance 20-14, which set forth the dissolution of the Norristown Municipal Waste Authority, and to authorize the municipal administrator to take any and all actions necessary to resolve any litigation matters or remediate any other actions taken in accordance with Ordinance 20-14.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, can we have a roll call, please?
Valerie Scott Cooper,
Aye.
Hakeem Jones,
Aye.
Sonia Sanders,
Aye.
Thomas O'Hara,
Aye.
Rebecca Smith,
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye. Ayes have it. Advertisement for Ordinance 20-21 passes. Mr. Administrator, 20-22, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a motion that authorized advertisement of Ordinance 20-22 for the repeal of Norristown Ordinance 20-15 related to the conveyance of the sewer system to Aqua Pennsylvania Water Incorporated, and to authorize the municipal administrator to take any and all actions necessary to resolve any litigation matters or remediate any other actions taken in accordance with Ordinance 20-15.
Council, any questions or comments? Okay, none. Can we have a motion to authorize the advertisement of Ordinance 20-22 for the repeal of Norristown ordinances and 20-15 related to the conveyance of the sewer system of Aqua Pennsylvania Water Incorporated, and to authorize the municipal administrator to take any and all actions necessary to resolve any litigation matters or remediate any other actions taken in accordance with Ordinance 20-15.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, roll call.
Valerie Scott Cooper,
Aye.
Hakeem Jones,
Aye.
Sonia Sanders,
Aye.
Thomas LaPera,
Aye.
Rebecca Smith,
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye. Motion ordinance 20-22 passes for advertisement. Mr. Jones.
Yes. So council, you have before you resolution 20-103 of 2020. And this is a resolution for council to authorize contracts in the totaling amount of $8,848,000 with Gordon H. Baver Incorporated for general construction, $536,750 with Integrity Mechanical Inc. for plumbing, $1,582,000 with Myco Mechanical Inc. for mechanical services, and $1,726,000 with Cedar Electric Inc. for electrical services. These are all related to the renovation project, the approved and funded renovation project for Municipal Hall. We have our construction manager and project manager, Mr. Gorski, available, as well as our engineer, Mr. Paul Lehrer with Pannoni, available for any questions that you might have on this. We'll add that these projects were under review as council had previously approved an intent to award letter to each of these contractors. And we were going through in the ensuing days since this meeting, the staff had been undergoing the due diligence requirements of our RCO, our Responsible Contractor Ordinance, as negotiated and agreed upon with local labor. Wow, a long time ago. And so these contractors and their subcontractors were reviewed by the team, and Mr. Gorski and Mr. Lehrer can respond to any questions you have related to that.
Councilman Jones.
Yeah, I just have a question around the funds and how they're going to be dispersed. And are there things in place when it comes to making sure the jobs are on schedule and expectation? Can you kind of touch on that, how that's going to go?
Sure, I'll let Mr. Gorski can certainly elucidate, but that's one of the reasons you hired Mr. Gorski as a project manager. The project manager it has a team with myself and the municipal engineer. His primary job is to make sure this project comes in on time and within budget. My desire is, of course, under budget, but on time and within budget. And so he will be, and the municipal engineer will be charged with reviewing, certifying both invoices, work is completed to our satisfaction, along with the other staff members, particularly in codes and permitting. They have to look at this, but that's the primary job of the project manager, to make sure that it's on time, within budget, and they'll submit certainly that to my review so that I can certify that to council based on their review that the work has been done. Jerry, please feel free to jump in.
Sure. Each of these contractors will have a invoice format that we have to approve before they can do the first bill. And that format will have all the various steps within each phase of the project broken out, and we'll understand what those phases are. And then as the work is completed, they bill on % complete each month. So there'll be a deadline for them to submit to us their pencil copy. We will walk the job site and agree to those amounts. That will be a bill that we approve and forward on to staff for their approval. And ultimately, each month we will have that invoice format, and it's a spreadsheet, how much was completed month 1, month 2, etc. Once those invoices are submitted, there is still a retainage there are funds held. I'll just use $100,000 worth of work. In the beginning of the project, we will hold, if $100,000 worth of work was put in place, ultimately the contractor gets $90,000 and a 10% retainage is held. And in that manner, if there was something that was completed but may need some remedial work, there's still funds for that. And as we get halfway through the job, it's evaluated if that retainage stays at 10% based on successful completion or is reduced to 5%. And then at the end of the job, there's still funds available to take care of any loose ends that there might be as the building is put into service.
Council, any other questions or comments? Councilman LaPere.
Yes, when before this was going out to bid, I think some of you may remember I asked questions about minority participation on this job. Are any of the contractors that were awarded minority-owned contractors? And are there any are we going to keep track of the number of minorities that are on the project that work for the contractors and subcontractors?
That's a question for you, Mr. Gorski.
Okay, so the electrical contractor is not a minority contractor, but it is a veteran-owned firm, and I believe it has a special designation within that combat veteran-owned firm. All the bidding was done in what the state requirements are. So the state requirements for public bidding for the municipality of Norristown were all met, and in that manner, it's basically a requirement that we go with the lowest qualified bidder. So additional restrictions beyond the RCO were not in place, but within that, then, the general contractor has the most subcontractors that they've submitted for compliance with the RCO. The general contractor has 8 subcontractors that have been approved so far. 5 of those 8 subcontractors are from Montgomery County, and 1 firm is a WBE.
So here's a question for you, Mr. Gorski. How many minority contractors actually bidded for this job? That's a better question, if you have that on hand. And did we actually, Mr. Jones, maybe you can, because we did have a company that we reached out to that I forget what the company is, that actually has businesses that are minority contractors. I preferably like to say people of color instead of minorities, because we tend to push everything all into one. We reached out to that company. What's the company name, and can you give us some background on that organization, what specifically they do?
Sure. So the company is the Eastern Minority Supplier Development Council. I had direct contact with them about this project and about bidding on this project. Mr. Gorski actually had much more contact with them as I connected them, and they had multiple conversations. Their members were notified of the project, encouraged to bid on the project so that was the outreach. That is why we did join and become members of the council to make sure that their network of minority firms, women firms, etc., were in the loop. So they were plugged into this project.
And they've continued to stay in touch, and we with them. I did get an email today, and there could they have certain supplier members that may sell products used on the job. So I know they made a good effort, and we certainly did keep them advised all the way through the process. I don't know that, they were able to get a whole lot of activity bidding on these large prime contracts. But as I said, we were in touch even today with how things are progressing. And, often they want to know, for instance, who's the painting contractor if they have a supplier that sells paint products. So we're keeping in touch that way to try to encourage participation at any level we can make it happen.
Yeah, I'm hoping at the halfway point we can get a better idea of, the outreach that we are for. Once again, I'm going to say it a little bit differently, people of color and in those organizations. And I think the company name is Eastern Minority Supply Organization. What is that? What is it?
It's the Eastern Minority Supplier Development Council.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And they represent just a gamut of minority suppliers for all types of services. And so not only on this project, but they're notified when we have bids now, because we're members, they're notified for them to get that out to their membership network to bid on anything we're doing.
Yep. Council, any other questions or comments? All right.
Yeah.
President Perry.
Sorry, Vice President Smith. Yes. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask a clarifying question, because I think it was Councilman LaPera asked, or maybe you, President Perry, about people employed by the organizations as well. And if we could get a picture for that. I'd also like to know maybe a little bit more about people of color in supervisory roles, since it's not really just enough to employ people of color in like your lowest labor roles. Also upward mobility matters as well. So if we are going to keep track of that, I'd like a fuller scope than just number of employees.
I know we have certainly on other projects been able to get that information. I know, for instance, with the Luxor project, we did get a routine report. So Mr. Gorski and Mr. Hassan and I will work on making sure we get that kind of information for you guys on this project.
And just to put it out there again for Mr. I'm sorry, go ahead, Councilman Jones.
No, I was just keeping the conversation around diversity and inclusion, all those things. I wanted to chime in on that, because when you look at the big picture, we got $11.2 million, that is going out. So when you see companies from the far ends of Bucks County, the far ends of Montgomery County, clearly that money is not staying in our community. So maybe it's a bigger discussion across multiple bodies about this type of thing. You got $12 million coming out of municipality. You got over $400 million coming out of a courthouse project. Like, it's just one of those things that either the minority contractors and the contractors of color are there. I mean, or what are we doing to bring them to the community and keep some of that money closer to our own neighborhoods? That's kind of my take. I mean, but we are going to pick who we have to pick. But I'm glad we're having this discussion.
It's a good observation, Councilmember Jones, and the issue again is, we do, and certainly at council's direction, make sure that they're aware of the projects, that they have the opportunity. We use the typical mechanisms for bidding these kind of projects now, and as Jerry said, on the services side, in terms of subs, there'll be some opportunities, suppliers, et cetera. Some of that money, particularly if they're local suppliers, maybe gets to stay in the community from businesses that will be in the community that sell and the kind of products that'll be used. I mean, that's the encouragement we have, and and that's certainly, again, that's part of the goal. We knew that, for instance, that there were some contractors in town, and one of the things we had to make sure was, and the EMDC, DSDC made sure that they have members here in town that would bid, and they checked their database, they sent out their networks. So if there was some in town, they got it. If there was some that were nearby, they got it. And as Jerry said, there will be some supplier opportunities. There might be some subcontracting opportunities as well. We're going to keep the conversation going, and we'll definitely keep you apprised of how that's going.
So I'll just say this, council has always talked about this as a whole. This is not just a little discussion that we have had, but it is something that we are looking at very, very closely, and we are going to administer it, within the law at any speed. But we continue to keep on pushing the narrative of looking for people of color and minorities and all of this. And that's something that Norristown just lacks, and we can be definitely clear about that, but we'll continue to keep pushing and go from there. So with that being said, can we have a motion to pass resolution number 20-103, which is for the Municipal Hall additions and renovations, awarding bids to Gordon H. Baver Incorporated in the amount of $8,848,000 for general construction, and to get Integrity Mechanical Incorporated in the amount of $536,750 for plumbing, Michael Mechanical Incorporated in the amount of $1,582,000 for mechanical, and Cedar Electric Incorporated in the amount of $1,726,000 for electrical.
So moved.
I'm going second. Madam Secretary, can we have a roll call, please?
Valerie Scott Cooper,
Aye.
Hakeem Jones,
Aye.
Tony Sanders,
Aye.
Thomas LaPera,
Nay.
Rebecca Smith,
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye, the ayes have it. Resolution number 20-103 passes. Chief Talbot, resolution 20-113. Kevin? Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Council President. I'm requesting that Council consider a motion to approve resolution number 20-101 regarding the designation of 2 disabled parking spaces. The locations are 1302 Arch Street and 632 West Lafayette Street. The residents at each location have demonstrated that they have physical limitations that make these accommodations necessary. Thank you.
Council, any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, can we have a motion for resolution number 20-101 to approve request for disabled parking spaces for 1302 Arch Street and 632 West Lafayette Street?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, can we have roll call, please?
Valerie Scott Cooper,
Aye.
Hakeem Jones.
Aye.
Tony Sanders. Okay. Thomas LaPera,
Aye.
Rebecca Smith,
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye. Councilwoman Sanders, I don't know if you're having technical difficulties, but we can't hear you.
Aye.
Oh, there you go. All
Thank
right.
you.
I'm shouting in my household.
Resolution number 20-101 passes. Madam Vice President, do you want to finish this up in buildings and codes?
Sure. On to buildings and codes enforcement. Historical Architectural Review Board for November 2020. Is there?
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Council, before you is a request to approve or deny the Historical Architectural Review Board applications which were received, reviewed, and recommended for approval by HARB for November 2020. As you are all aware, the Norristown HARB receives applications on a monthly basis for exterior repairs and renovations for properties located in Norristown's historic districts. Those applications are reviewed by HARB members to confirm that the repair and/or renovation work is in compliance with our municipal ordinance. The HARB board did review the applications and approve them either as submitted or modified as mentioned on the COAs for the following two properties, 106 Stanbridge Street and 613 Noble Street. Thank you.
Council, any questions?
I'm ready to do my thing.
President Perry, are you unmuted because you have a question?
Oh, sorry. Nope. Sorry.
All right. Seeing none, then, is there a motion to approve the Historical Architectural Review Board applications received, reviewed, and recommended for approval by the HARB for November 2020?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, so the HARB November 2020 applications are approved. Mr. Singh, back to you again. Ordinance 2018 to amend Chapter 31 HARB of the Municipal Code.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Council, before you is an ordinance of the Municipality of Norristown amending the Municipality of Norristown HARB Ordinance, Chapter 31, to amend certain provisions to eliminate HARB Zone B, to redefine the boundaries of HARB Zone A, and to restate and revise the preservation guidelines criteria applicable to HARB Zone A under Section 31-10F. Just a brief history, Chapter 31 HARB was adopted by Municipal Council on October 7, 2003 by Ordinance number 3-9. The last update to Chapter 31 was back on November 16, 2010 via Ordinance number 20, via Ordinance number 10-20. At the council meeting workshop, which happened back on October 20th, 2020, proposed amendments were discussed by staff and municipal council. At the council workshop meeting on November 17th, 2020, it was requested by staff to obtain authorization to advertise Ordinance 20-18, which contained the amendments which were reviewed, discussed, and desired by council. On November 23rd, 2020, Ordinance 20-18 was advertised via the Times Herald newspaper. Everyone is fully aware of the facts and issues that are currently existing with our HARB ordinance. So staff is recommending that council approve Ordinance 20-18 as it contains the proposed HARB updates as discussed at the previous council workshop meetings on October 20th and on November 17th, which is to amend the Municipality of Norristown HARB Ordinance, Chapter 31, by amending certain provisions of the code, and to restate and revise the preservation guidelines criteria applicable to HARB Zone A under Section 31-10F. Thank you, Madam Vice President.
Thank you. Council, any questions? All right, and seeing none, is there a motion for council to approve Ordinance 20-18 to amend Chapter 31 HARB of the Municipal Code, to amend certain provisions to eliminate HARB Zone B, to redefine the boundaries of HARB Zone A, and to restate and revise the preservation guidelines criteria applicable to HARB Zone A under Section 31-10F?
So move.
Second.
Madam Secretary, could I please have a roll call?
Barry Scott Cooper. Valerie. Okay.
I'm sorry,
Hakeem Jones. Okay. Aye. Okay. Hakeem
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Sonia Sanders.
Aye.
Thomas LaPera.
Aye.
Rebecca Smith.
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Ordinance 20-18 to amend Chapter 31 of the HARB of the Municipal Code is passed. Mr. Singh, back to you. Ordinance 20-19 to amend the Municipal Code by adding new chapter 240 titled Property Maintenance Quick Ticket Program.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Council, before you is an ordinance amending the Norristown Municipal Ordinances to add a new chapter 240 titled Property Maintenance Quick Ticket Program under Part 2 General Legislation to establish a quick ticket program for the issuance of fines for violations of certain existing property maintenance and code requirements. Currently, the Municipality of Norristown Department of Buildings and Code Compliance issues quick tickets for 3 violations. They are high grass and weeds, rubbish and trash, and snow and ice on sidewalks. These 3 tickets are issued under 3 different municipal code chapters, Chapter 202, Chapter 270, and Chapter 315. At the council workshop meeting on October 20th, 2020, proposed amendments were discussed by staff and municipal council. At the council workshop meeting on November 17th, 2020, it was requested by staff to obtain authorization to advertise Ordinance 20-19, which contained the amendments which were reviewed, discussed, and desired by council. On November 23rd, 2020, Ordinance 20-19 was advertised via Times Herald newspaper. Just to quickly go over some facts and issues regarding this ordinance request. As you are all aware, there is a lack of maintenance of properties, littering, improper storage of trash and rubbish, storage of inoperable and non-registered vehicles, accumulation of snow and ice on sidewalks, failure to remove animal waste, unsafe swimming pools, persons and firms working without permits, and many other code violations which are costly problems and contribute to the deterioration of property values and general disorder in the community. These problems degrade the physical appearance of the municipality of Norristown, which reduce business and tax revenue, inhibiting economic development. The quality of life and community pride of the citizens of Norristown are negatively impacted by the occurrences and existence of these activities. Recognizing these are community problems, the purpose of this chapter is to promote the health, safety, and general welfare of the municipality by helping to create a clean and safe environment for the citizens of Norristown. The Department of Buildings and Code Compliance is requesting to issue quick tickets for 12 additional code violations, along with the 3 existing code violations, for a total of 15 code violations which may receive a quick ticket. All 15 of these code violations currently exist under the municipal codes and are being enforced by issuance of warnings and notices of violations. These are common property maintenance and building safety violations. The 15 quick ticket violations proposed under Ordinance 20-19 are QOL1, accumulation of rubbish or garbage, QOL2, animal maintenance and waste feces cleanup, QOL3, disposal of rubbish or garbage/dumping, QOL4, high weeds, grass, or plant growth, QOL5, motor vehicles, unregistered, uninspected, inoperative, or in disrepair, QOL6, outside placement of indoor appliances or furniture, QOL7, snow and ice removal from sidewalks, QOL8, storage containers for waste or trash, QOL9, storing or discarding of appliances, QOL10, storage of hazardous materials, QOL11, storage of recyclables, QOL12, swimming pools, QOL13, historic district violations, QOL 14, failure to obtain permit, and QOL 15, failure to post permit placard in conspicuous location. The three existing quick ticket fines are $50, and with these proposed ordinance, 10 code violations will be $50, with the 5 severe code violations being $100 as shown above. Lastly, by creating one municipal code chapter for quick tickets, it will be easier for property owners and residents to be educated regarding their rights, responsibilities, and duties for maintaining code compliant properties. That being said, Council, it is recommended by staff that Council approve Ordinance 20-19 as it gives the Department of Buildings and Code Compliance an additional mechanism to hold property owners accountable for non-compliance of municipal property maintenance, housing, and building safety code standards, and further will assist with Municipal Council's vision, mission, and goals to help increase the quality of life and to help maintain and increase property values in Norristown, as discussed with Council at the previous Council workshop meetings on October 20th, 2020 and November 17, 2020. Thank you, Madam Vice President.
Thank you. Council, any questions? President Perry?
So this is one thing that I'm very passionate about when it comes to how we can change the scope of Norristown. And I'm going to continue to say it. Once again, we're being too nice with these violations and not saying that is not a good job of what specifically is here. But when we're looking at the dynamics of Norristown and what we should be from 20 years ago or 30 years ago to now, these fines that we're doing is very minimal and sometimes a joke to some of the culprits who keep on doing the same thing. I'm thinking, if it's up to Council, I'm only going to speak for myself, but I would love to see these fines a little bit higher, as well as a continuous fine for people who keep doing the same thing. I think the quick ticket thing is very, very good, but if I think we should put on here first offense, second offense, third offense, and then after the third offense, I think it should be a continuous fine per day up until the people get the idea of being uncomfortable with doing the comfortable thing that they possibly keep doing, right? If you're saying to me that we have some of the same things, garbage, et cetera, and especially permits, right? That we keep catching people, which when you get a permit, you're a state person, you're state certified, so you should be in compliance at all times. I think that fine should be, whatever the highest of the state law is. If it's $1,000, it should be $1,000. And I think as a council, we should, come along with that. I heard last time that, this could hurt seniors and so forth, and that's not the case. What's happening is those seniors who love their community are the ones that's calling every day, right? And we're getting those emails every day. But we continue to get these emails, sometimes with even us following the law, where we have to follow the law, where stuff is still not getting done fast enough. Even if we give them a ticket, 7 days later, 14 days later, we're still getting the same call saying, or a month later saying, well, what's going on? And I think that defeats the purpose of people calling us, right? If we want to make progressive moves, which I think we should be more progressive because we've been conservative in the ways that we operate. Let's be progressive with this, and I'll just leave it at that. I think these fines could be higher and should be higher, so we can start changing the dynamics. If we change this, where property values go up, where people take take it very seriously of being rental property owners, etc., then we change the culture. The culture needs to be changed, and I'm hoping that right now we can. Maybe if we do this now, but a month later, I would like to see these a lot higher because it's just necessary now. We clean this up. That's just one thing off of our plate that we don't need to worry about.
Madam Vice President, if I may just quickly address President Perry's comments, just because I do recall this came up at the workshop meeting last month when I was there. And I seem to recall in the form that was presented to council, as well as the form that was advertised, there is a provision that actually allows for a violation that continues to be considered a separate offense. Specifically, section 240-7 of the proposed ordinance states, each day a violation continues or is permitted to continue may constitute a separate offense for which a separate fine may be imposed. So I believe that, Mr. President Perry, that addresses one of your comments, which is the ordinance as proposed already authorizes or allows the code department in its discretion to determine whether or not it's going to issue a quick ticket fine on a daily basis for an ongoing violation.
Yes, and if possible, higher. You know, like I said, these are ongoing situations that we've been having since I've been on council, but I know other people before council, same thing. You know, what are we going to do as a council? Are we going to sit on our hands and wait and say, okay, this is great, not saying that it's not, this is great, and then come back later on, maybe a year down the line or 2 years down the line and saying, you know what, we need to change this. Or instead of doing the work currently right now and knock it out. So now when people call us, we're like, you know, all right, we're going to send this to Render and staff, and now they do the necessary work, and then these people are comfortable doing stuff, right? You know, I'll never forget that I was at the first landlord meeting, which was in 2014, and Crandall can talk about this, where we were going over Act 90, and Crandall or Patrick can go over Act 90 and what that specifically means. And people were laughing at it. You know, I heard a landlord say, why should I get a fine for people who don't cut the grass? Well, you own the property. Or why do I need to get a fine, you know, for something that someone is, well, if, you know, and that's another discussion for something else too, but we need to clean it up. And it starts with us. So that's where I'm at with it. And none of us should be quiet in regards to this situation, because we go through the same thing over and over again, where we're getting these calls, or we're getting people that's next to us that's doing work that live right next to us that don't have a permit. And we're like, okay, we call Render and he's saying, oh, they're working without a permit. It's like, I drove around with Render one time and a guy was just working in the ground, like, okay, no permit, had all the state stickers on his truck, and he thought it was comfortable to do that. So I'm just hoping we can come a little bit more progressive with the things that we do, so people can start looking at us and be like, you know what, they really want to make a change. And I'm not saying that we're not making changes. I'm just saying that this is what we can do now. So this is just one less thing off of our plate, because when we make the people who are comfortable doing the same thing over and over again, they will become uncomfortable and stop doing it. Then people will take us a little bit more serious. But once we clean up the town, now you'll see the developers and everything else coming. Not saying that developers are not coming, but we can't do one without the other. If we do the first part of it, which is clean the town up and make property values go up and so forth, then we'll get the development that we need. Sorry for my soapbox.
Councilman Jones, I saw you've been waiting for a bit, and then Councilwoman Sanders.
Waiting patiently. Yeah, so thanks, Amrinder, for the work you're doing. The concern I have sometimes is your type of landowner. Sometimes it's that large vacant property that maybe a large realtor company is overseeing, and it's not being cut. The vision's bad. People can't see when they're trying to leave the streets. And then you look at the other person who's actually a resident. They're much more easier to target, and they're most likely the ones that are going to get hit. So can we make sure that we enforce it, whether it be a big box developer who owns a large parking lot and maybe the store isn't responsible, but that owner has to do it? I just want to see us, if we are going to give these tickets, to make sure they're proportionally given out across the board. And then maybe if we can get some type of report on who our frequent offenders are across different types of property, maybe homeowners, large properties, duplexes, etc. So maybe you can give us more input on who these chronic offenders are, and then that can be later checked to see if what we're doing is successful.
Councilwoman Sanders. Can't hear you.
I too echo Councilman Perry's sentiments in terms of the increases. However, I would like to see it more specifically to either landlords and to constituents. Reason being is because I know some folks will say, well, what about the seniors, which Mr. Singh can speak to. There is a way that seniors do have an opportunity to make payment arrangements. So again, I do echo President Perry's sentiment.
Thank you. Councilman LaPera.
I also would like to back up President Perry's statements. I think this is a quality of life issue and something that could really help the town. I also really think that it should be a tiered thing: first, second, third offense. After the third offense, you should be fined every single day until it's fixed. Some of the things like working without a permit, that fine should probably be based on the monetary value of the work that they're doing. You could have essentially a $1 million project going without a permit. I mean, $100 fine is nothing, and they're going to laugh at it and throw a $100 bill at you. If we really want to stop it, I think it has to be higher and maybe based on a scale of value of the job.
Mr. Singh, I saw you come off mute. You have a comment you'd like to add?
Yes, please. Thank you, Madam Vice President. So I just wanted to share with everybody, I do agree with everybody's comments, but I think everybody may recall in 2018, we put together, Mr. Jones and I, we put together, actually, I think it was almost a 100-page report, which was the first time in the building department's history, at least in recent history, where there was actually a very comprehensive report to show all of our day-to-day operations and exactly how we have been operating, especially in 2018, and how much our proactive enforcement has actually increased. So just to quickly go over some of the concerns that were just mentioned, in 2018, I'm just going to concentrate just on our proactive enforcement, and next month when we bring some of the other items before you at the workshop meeting related to our rental registration and rental inspections and so on and so forth, I'll have some more information for you at that time. But related to our proactive code enforcement, in 2018, we issued 5,568 notices of violations. That was an increase of 121%. So in 2018, we actually issued more notices than the last two previous years combined. 2019, which was last year, we also have the report, but due to COVID and everything that was going on earlier this year, back in March, April, we didn't get to formally present it to council like we did last year, but I will make sure to forward the 2019 annual report to Mr. Jones. That way he can disperse it to the entire council body. But in 2019, so in 2018, we did 5,568 notices. In 2019, we did 9,497. So that was another increase of almost 71% in 2019. So in 2018 and 2019, we did more proactive code enforcement than the last 6 years, last 6 years combined. And we have been very aggressive with not going after necessarily homeowners that reside in these properties. When we go in front of a property and we see a code violation, whether it's a building or property maintenance, we just see the violation. We look at it, we take a picture, we write up the property, whatever the issue is. Do we know if the property is a rental or owner occupied? The answer is yes. We could actually look it up if we spend some more time and look in the system. But generally, because we have such a large amount of rental properties in Norristown, a majority of our violations go to rental property owners. They don't actually go to homeowners. So, for example, in 2019, we found a total of 11,324 code violations. These are proactive code violations, not found during, building permit inspections or not found during property transfers or even rental inspection. These are just proactive code enforcement violations found. So in 2019, 11,324 were found, out of which 8,100 were for rental properties. Only 3,100 were for owner occupied. Similarly, in 2018, we found 10,802 code violations, out of which 7,072 were for rental properties and only 3,730 were for owner occupied. So we, and it's not to say that we are, selectively enforcing proactive enforcement to just rental property owners. We are trying to clean up and trying to increase the quality of life all over Norristown. So if there's a property that has an issue, we will identify it, we will follow up as needed, and we will issue the necessary notice. And that being said, right now with these notices that I'm speaking about, where in 2019 we issued 94, almost 9,500 of them, right now that's a warning letter, that's a notice of violation. Now we will actually be issuing an instant fine. So a lot of these, out of these 9,500, a lot of them are going to be an instant fine right away. Hey, you didn't cut your grass, or we already have that. Hey, you have a swimming pool issue, instant fine. You didn't get a permit, you started working without a permit, instant fine. Where right now it's just a warning letter. So even if you are working without a permit, we actually charge double permit fees. And as you guys may all recall, at the previous council meeting, I can't remember which workshop meeting it was, I apologize. It was a night when we passed the fee schedule for 2021. And even previously, last year, when you guys approved the fee schedule for 2020, we actually implemented a double permit fee. And we have been very aggressive this year with charging a double permit fee for every property where we found somebody started working without a permit. And similarly, if we do issue this instant ticket to somebody, for example, let's say they started working without a permit, it's going to be a $100 fine off the bat. And if they don't get into compliance within the time given on the notice, we still have the mechanism to issue a citation at the MDJ's office. Not only that, we're still going to be charging a double permit fee. So people are going to be calling you guys a lot. Get ready for the calls. And people are actually going to say, hey, make these fines $25 instead of $50, because unfortunately, to change people's behaviors, it has changed a lot, because since we have started doing proactive code enforcement, where we have been very aggressive with our follow-ups and holding property owners accountable. For example, one of the things we can share is in 2019, I just had the data pulled up here. I apologize. In 2019, we issued only 385 notices for accumulation of rubbish and garbage, whereas in 2018, we issued 1,009 of them. So because we are so aggressively notifying property owners to either clean up the properties, and if you don't, we're going to issue a citation, a lot of times we have. And also, if the property owner fails to maintain the property, whether it's cleaning the trash or cutting the grass, we actually have our third-party contractor to go out to clean up the property. And if they don't pay that invoice, we end up leaning the property. So we have been very aggressive, and I know Mr. Jones has many comments to also add to it, and he is he's always consistently getting calls, regarding the code department being actually too aggressive with our enforcement because people feel like that we are, something happens the night before and we're already there the following morning. So I know we have a lot of work that we still need to do, and we're going to continue to do it. But I think this is going to be, one of the many things we're going to be doing here in the next few months that's going to help push and meet your guys' vision and goals, especially with all of these different code updates we're going to be doing in December and January. A lot of things are going to be coming before you guys at these workshop meetings, and I think you guys are going to be very happy with all of the things that are being presented. Mr. Jones, Mr. Kilkenny, Patrick, Courtney, all of us have been brainstorming and listening to all of the things you guys have been sharing with us over the year regarding the things you want to see, and they are being put together on paper and will be presented to you in December and January. And I'm confident that you guys will be happy with all of these. And as soon as 2020 is over, sometime in January, you'll have another 100+ page report to show the even more proactive code enforcement that occurred in 2020, even during the pandemic. And I'm sure you guys may recall in the beginning, you guys were getting a lot of calls of, hey, why are we still out there, enforcing our municipal codes and laws? So in 2020, we actually inspected more, believe it or not, even with the pandemic, we inspected more rental buildings and housing units and so on and so forth. So I'm going to pass the mic now to, I believe, Mr. Jones. And if there's any other questions, please feel free to, contact me, as you guys all do at any time. But I promise you that we are working very hard to meet your guys' goals and vision of how Norristown should be. Thank you.
And council, just quickly, I want to say, yeah, Amrinder is right. We do hear you, which is why one of the reasons the whole quick ticket issue came up, because as you know, we've had these concerns whereby where most of the DJs.
Oh wait, look at it. It's kind of like.
Hold on, just a second.
Look at it. It's kind of ripped.
Okay, caller number 20 and 12.
12, yeah, I got him. Well, most of the DJs respond well. As you know, we issue the fines. We issue fines at the limit by which the state gives us the authority to do. And so we can only issue citations requesting that a fine be set at what we've requested. But at the end of the day, if it goes to before a DJ, they make the decision for what the actual fine is. And that's discouraging to us in some instances because it does send the wrong message to the to the offender in doing it, which is why we wanted to go to a quick ticket program whereby we can issue fines ourselves and we can issue it with the frequency to get that, that very action that you guys want. Now, if what I'm hearing tonight is that you want us to come back with something more aggressive than this, or do this and come back with an amendment later, I think we'd be love to get the clarification of that. But also in doing so, we need to again make sure that it is something we can legally do in terms of what the state allows us to do in terms of setting fees. So just a little clarification from your part in terms of, do you want us to you want to table this and want us to come back? And I certainly want to get with the solicitor again in terms of the things that are on the table for tonight in terms of our ability to actually do it. But we'd be happy, just give us a little bit of clarification.
Sure, I will ask that question in a second. I actually had a question for Mr. Singh before moving forward. I'm sure the answer is probably yes, because you're like the most data forward codes manager I've ever met. But will there be an ability to monitor over time, how many of these fines are being issued on like a one-off basis versus habitual offenders. Because I think definitely a lot of the discussion tonight and 2 weeks ago was it could be, you know, just seniors or just like a family who got unlucky the day code went down the street, or it could be people who are habitually doing the same thing over and over again. The answer is it's probably both. But just if there's some data that we could have on how that plays out over time.
100%, Madam Vice President. We will definitely have that data available, you know, part of our, we can make it a part of our monthly report. I know that was one of the things that Mr. Jones and Council previously, I think I was submitting almost a 10-page monthly report, which has now shrunk down to 3 pages. But I can definitely do all of the mapping and make sure that we are actually observing who the habitual offenders are, and as we have been with all of our other things, such whether it's working without a permit or rental property issues, having those phone calls and discussions with those landlords and speaking with them. And one of the things I also wanted to reiterate again is whether it's a senior citizen, whether it's the family that had to go out of town for an emergency, we do have that mechanism in place, and it's even more defined now in this ordinance to appeal the ticket. And currently, we have a higher than 90% appeal, you know, success rate for the appealant. So as long as you know, the property owner makes the effort of filling out that appeal application and sharing with us what occurred, why they failed to, you know, cut the grass that weekend, we will always, you know, remove that fine that was issued as long as they have a valid reason, and if since that point the property maintenance issue has been corrected. So it's all about being fair, uniform, and consistent, and just like we do with all of our other operations, we're going to make sure we continue to do that. And we will definitely make sure that the data is available for all of council to see, you know, which areas of town are possibly getting more tickets, or which, you know, property owners need to be more educated, or this will also help landlords to be a little bit more proactive with their, you know, daily management of their properties, where they may kind of be hands off now because all they receive is a letter in the mail telling them to do something, and they'll call their tenant, versus now every time they get a letter, it's an actual instant fine. So I think this is going to have a big response, and when we're going to see the data for 2021 versus 2020, and even before then, we can do a, you know, in 3 months, we can do an assessment, 6 months, however council wishes to do that. We can definitely bring the data in front of you. And if we want to, or if you guys feel like you guys want to increase the fees, we can do that. Or if you want to even end up decreasing them, you know, it's totally up to you guys, but we'll definitely make all of that information available.
Thank you. President Perry, do you have another question?
Yeah, question and a comment also. So the first I'm going to say in regards to the comment is I'm hoping I can speak for all of council. We do not think that the codes department is not doing a wonderful job. We definitely appreciate you guys doing, you know, just changing the dynamics in regards to that. So let's first put that out there, that we do respect exactly what you're doing. And then the second part of it is that if we were to wait, would we have to put out another advertisement in regards to the fee schedule, et cetera, et cetera?
And if I may answer that one, Madam Vice President, President Perry, you're exactly correct. And if council were to determine tonight to table this in order for staff and our office to go back and make revisions related primarily to, it sounds like, the fees, I shouldn't say the fees, the fines that would be imposed and the structure of the fines, that would also mean that there would be no current ability for the codes office to issue the quick tickets for those 12 other violations that codes is trying to add. So therefore, while I can't take any position, and I don't take any position, I'm not an elected official, as to what you should or shouldn't do, please keep in mind, if you table this, that means that those additional 12 quick ticket items cannot be issued until council takes later action at a future date. So it may behoove you at this time to pass this ordinance as is, and then wait a couple of months to see how the fines, shake out, and then make an amendment to the fine structure, assuming everybody agrees collectively that the additional 12 quick tickets should be something that Codes Department should have the authority to issue.
And another comment, Council, just to pay attention to this is that Mr. Singh did say that once there's an appeal, that it goes to the MDJ's offices, and sometimes we're not getting what we deserve. So we have to start paying attention to that. I'm not sure what we can do about that, which I think is nothing, but I think we should start pushing the envelope that we have laws here, and if they're going to follow the law, then we should be handing our laws to them to make sure that they're doing exactly what they should be doing, and that's following the law. And I'm not going to say any names in regards to these MDJs, but all right.
All right, so there's been some discussion on how we should move forward. I will start with the affirmative. So I will start by asking whether you'd like to pass the ordinance. If there is not motion or votes for that, I will move to middle ground, table, and come back. If there's not motions for that, I will move to completely say no. So with that said, is there a motion for council to approve ordinance 20-19 to amend the municipal code by adding a new chapter 240, titled Property Maintenance Quick Ticket Program, under Part 2 General Legislation, to establish a quick ticket program for the issuance of fines for violations of certain existing property maintenance and code requirements?
So moved, but can we put on there with the solicitor and Mr. Jones and staff coming back to us to amend it at a later date? I'm on a so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Secretary, can I please have a roll call?
Valerie Scott Cooper,
Aye.
Kim Jones,
Aye.
Sonia Sanders,
Aye with the second.
okay, Thomas LaPera,
Aye.
Rebecca Smith,
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it. Ordinance 2019 is approved. Thank you, Mr. Singh.
Thank you. Thank you, Council. And I look forward to the next workshop meeting and having those further discussions regarding all of the other items. Thank you so much, Council.
And Ms. Musanye, a request for authorization to advertise ordinance 2020 Community Development Block Grant for fiscal year 2021 proposed budget.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, council members. As you recall, at the November 17th meeting, set forth the proposed budgets for projects we're proposing for the fiscal year 2021. We asked council if we could advertise those proposed projects and budgets, which you affirmatively gave me permission to. We've since advertised the projects, and tonight we're bringing forth an ordinance that basically combines those projects into the three main categories in an ordinance, so that we can advertise it to meet the local ordinance requirements in preparation for our submission to HUD when Congress passes the appropriations for HUD's fiscal year 2021. So tonight we have ordinance number 2020 of 2020, and it sets forth the housing projects set aside for $120,000. Those projects include the owner-occupied housing rehabilitation project for $90,000, and the housing rehab technical support, which is $30,000, for a total of $120,000. The second category is the municipal projects, which we've set aside $579,157. And the municipal projects include the Fair Housing Council for $30,000, Section 108 loan repayment, $437,675. Small Business Assistance Center, $40,000. Main Street Streetscape, $41,482. Historic Facade, $30,000. And Administration, $165,000, for a total of $864,157. In as much as we are proposing this in the ordinance, as I said, this is still subject to Congress setting aside the funds for that particular fiscal year. So until we do receive that information, we are doing what we call the citizen participation process, where we notify the public, we advertise accordingly, and then we wait to be told what we're actually going to get. And when we do get that information, there are times we can come back and amend it, and there are times we don't need to amend it if it's just minimal. At that point is when we're able to submit, and that's sometime in January, after council considers this ordinance at the January 4th meeting. That's when we'll be able to submit the standard form 424, which is the application for the community development block grant funds. So tonight, I'm asking for council to allow me to basically have this ordinance advertised December 3rd and December 17th in preparation for your next council meeting in January. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Council, any questions? All right, I have one. There was a hearing on this prior to this meeting, right? How did it go? Was there participation, and what was that participation like?
Thank you for asking. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. Yes, we did have a meeting at 6 p.m. And unfortunately, I didn't have the public there. But we're hoping that when we bring it back again to council, that'll be another opportunity for the public to hear.
I hope that too. All right, council, is there a motion to authorize advertisement of ordinance 2020 of 2020 Community Development Block Grant CDBG fiscal year 2021 proposed budget?
So move.
Second.
Madam Secretary, could I please have a roll call?
Valerie Scott Cooper,
Aye.
Hakeem Jones,
Aye.
Tony Sanders,
Aye.
Thomas LaPera,
Aye.
Rebecca Smith,
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it. Ordinance 2020 will be advertised.
Thank
you, Ms. Massaga. And on to departmental reports. Chief Talbot, you're up.
All right, thank you. So November was a tough month for us. We were having a good year all the way up until about October in terms of the general rate of crime. Where we stand right now, we're about 2% overall up from last year. So, you know, just a little bit worse than a dead heat. It got a little bit out of hand with gun violence in November. So we have 11 total shootings this year. Just to give you a sense of where we usually stand, if you look at the average number of fatal and non-fatal shootings, it's about 12 over the course of 2014 through 2019. We've had anywhere from a low of 7 to a high of 15, but we average about 12. So we're at 11 right now. And 6 of the 11 occurred in about the last 6 weeks. So it was, November, as I said, was a really tough month. We have been successful in making arrest in most of those cases. Only 3 out of the 11 are open cases. The rest of them have been cleared by arrest. Overall, the trend in crime is significantly down. What we've seen this year is like what has been happening in some other urban environments, a little bit of an uptick in certain types of violence. With our fatal shootings, we're at 2, which actually represents a 50% reduction from last year. Last year, we ended up with 4, and actually all 4 occurred prior to this time. So, 0 is a much better number, but in terms of statistically where we stand, we're not doing bad at all. Shots fired seems to be the big challenge this year, and it has spiked along with the arrests that we've made for illegal gun carrying. So those 2 things tend to run hand in hand. Those 2 crimes are both up, and just as of the last week, the last couple of weeks, we started to see things treading in the right direction. Juvenile arrests, another thing that we track pretty closely, are down 15%, which is good. Traffic accidents are way down. I would say a significant portion of that is about the pandemic and less people out and about. This is, I think, for everybody, a really tough year for a variety of reasons. I think maybe this is one of the toughest challenges that we've seen in policing because of the variety of problems, including the fact that we've lost hundreds of man hours due to either infection scares or exposure, that sort of thing. I hate to jinx myself or the police department, but we actually have 0 infections connected to anybody coming to work and coming into contact with somebody who is known to have coronavirus. So we've done well protecting ourselves there. But we've also, because we've been so aggressive with making sure that anybody who has come into contact with somebody that may have exposed them, keep them out of the workplace, we've lost a whole lot of productive time, I'll say. Spent a lot of time over the last few weeks digging into the numbers to see exactly what's happening. It was interesting to see that it was the first quarter of the year that was actually our worst. So looking at the 28-day trends is typically what we drilled down into. January through March was our toughest period of the year in comparison to last year, and we've continued to trend in a better direction overall since then. So I'm optimistic in terms of what's going to happen for the remainder of the year. I think we're in a good position right now, and hopefully we'll keep heading in that direction. That's my report.
Thank you, Chief. Council, do any of you have any questions? President Perry?
Yeah, Chief, thanks for the report. As always, we hate to hear of gun violence, especially with young people. But have you seen more out of towners? Are they the ones being arrested for this gun violence in Norristown?
So we have seen some of the gun violence that seems to be connected to people that don't live here, which is really unusual. Mm-hmm. I've really never spent any time in my career worrying much about people from out of town coming into a community committing crimes, because it's really not a thing, but it has been lately. We have seen some of the violent crime activity that is connected with social networks that extend beyond the borders of Norristown. You never get away from this reality of violence. That is, you tend to be victimized by people that are in your social network, which is good in the sense that it is almost never random. Gun violence in an urban context always makes sense in terms of it's somebody that's connected to the people involved in a way where they know the person's name, right? You're not talking about strangers chasing each other around. You're talking about people that know each other and often know each other well. But yes, those social networks. So I'll say two things. One, we're still not talking about strangers. We're not talking about people from out of town that aren't connected to our residents coming here and doing bad stuff. We're talking about people out of town that happen to be connected to Norristown residents, and it's sort of generated a unique problem lately.
Yeah, I've been paying attention. You know, I drive around a lot, and I pay attention to. I'm like, I don't know these people, and it seems like our town is getting different kinds of people that we don't know. You know, Norristown used to be a tight knit community where pretty much everybody knew everybody. Also, my second question for you is, well, I know you'll probably do this, but I know there was a gun ring that was in Norristown. And are we continuing to do collaborations with the DA's office as we keep getting these shootings and everything else to see if it is from a gun ring?
Yes. So in each of the cases where we get some sort of forensic evidence, so when we collect shell casings or projectiles, or if we make an arrest and we locate a firearm, all those things are checked forensically to see if we can link one gun to another or one bullet to another scene, one casing, and so forth. We always collaborate with the DA's office. So we do a ton of work with the DA's office around gun violence. We do work with other agencies, with some federal agencies around gun violence. So that's always part of what we do. I'll say we are as successful as anybody in an urban context solving gun crimes. As I said, we are at 8 arrests, and there will 8 out of the 11 shootings we have arrests. In at least one more, there's going to be an arrest relatively soon. We just today, and I think the press release will go out tomorrow, we made an arrest in an apprehension in the homicide of Jerry White that occurred on November 3rd in the 500 block of West Marshall Street. We picked that guy up earlier today. Pretty confident we will have an arrest on the most recent homicide of Abdur Smalls. So and a lot of that's about collaboration, but it's also about having really good relationships with the public. You don't solve a shooting in an urban context without having really good relationships with the public. Those crimes go unsolved because if you don't have a good relationship with the public, in a lot of communities, it literally doesn't make sense for people who get shot to tell the police who did it, because it's dangerous. But we've gotten a lot of cooperation. We spend a lot of time talking to people to find out exactly what's going on. And I think we'll continue to be successful in moving the numbers in the right direction.
My last question for you is in regards to halfway houses that possibly could be illegal in Norristown or legal. I know at one time, we had a conversation with the county system, speaking to Norristown system in regards to people who do gunplay, et cetera, et cetera. Are you still following that, and are we paying attention to illegal halfway houses and et cetera that is in Norristown? And how are we handling that?
Yeah, you know, in terms of gun violence, I can't think of a single one of the cases or any of the networks that concern me that we've linked back to any of the halfway houses. It's really mostly a problem of criminally involved young men, almost exclusively young, as in either, I should say young as in barely out of their teens. We have a couple of our cases where there are some juveniles involved, but most of them are young males that have, late teens, early 20s in those age ranges. We do a lot of collaboration with probation and parole. We do a lot of collaborative work with state parole, with federal parole. So we are networked to those agencies. I think where we do have issues that make me anxious are with the drug, I'm using air quotes right now, the drug treatment facilities, right? The locations that sort of bill themselves as, whatever, where people are going there to supposedly kick their addictions. I think they're very much needed when they are being run the way that they're supposed to. But I think we have far too many entrepreneurs out there that really just have a space that they are making a whole lot of money off of, and they're not doing a whole lot of treating of anything.
I'm hoping that staff and yourself and council can actually get together to have a deeper conversation to whoever we need to have a conversation with. Obviously, we do have a lot of that, and we'll be glad to back you on whatever findings you have, and see what kind of resolution those people who feel as though Norristown should have those kinds of things in Norristown should, we can have those, see what kind of solutions they come up with. So, but thank you for that detailed information, and obviously, you guys don't have an easy job, but we definitely appreciate everything you guys do. So thanks.
Thank you very much.
Councilman Jones.
Chief, thanks for the report and for your honesty on things, the reality of what we're facing. My question is around youth. We are, obviously you shared that there's some juvenile activity when it comes to the shooting and the violence. We all know schools are remote. We all know athletics and some of the activities that youth participate in are limited or non-existent. Are there some things that we can do on the community side as far as identifying youth? I know that detention centers are lower staffed because of COVID, and I know that there's potentially kids out in the streets who could use resources. They could use mentorship, they could use programming. So is there anything that you have any ideas, or there anything you want to do? Maybe some of us on council or even in the community can create safe hubs and safe spaces for some of these kids who are so easily drawn to trouble. So I know we're shut down, but I still don't think as a community everything needs to be shut down, because that's kind of what the problem is from what I'm seeing.
I think it's really important that we lower the threshold that we have for people to do something. I think we have to move, to some degree, we've got to move beyond this notion that unless we have, a full rec center of teens and young adults, we're not doing anything. I think that all of us, when we're, especially men, because the single biggest problem with this group of criminally involved young males is no man in the house. You know, and I'm not even saying dad. I'm saying no man in the house. I think that it's incumbent upon adult males to do more in terms of just daily interactions. You know, even those of us at the hall, you see somebody walking by, I think, engage in conversation, smile. You know, I think that just in our general way of living our lives, we could do more just as a matter of how we interact with people when we come into contact with them in public spaces. I think that a lot of times we miss opportunities because we're on our phones, or we're busy, or we just simply don't take the time to make eye contact. I think that making a concerted effort to interact more is actually meaningful. I also think that in our neighborhoods, we're not talking about every neighborhood has a problem. Gun violence in particular never, or I should say almost never, lands in a space that's unfamiliar to us. When we have locations in the community that are in need of attention, I think we do a really good job at this, and that's why the numbers have been going in the right direction. A really good job collectively. I think it's important to pay close attention to neighborhoods that are prone to violence, because they're prone to violence for, you know, the reason why the violence extends itself and expands is because there are a number of conditions that are conducive to it happening. You know, it's too dark. Not enough people are occupying public spaces. There aren't enough people in that neighborhood that trust the police enough to call. You know, there's work we've got to do. We have to make sure landlords are doing their thing. We have to regulate those environments as best that we can, so that the blocks are safer for everybody. So I think we can do both of those things, and I think that we can make sure that when we do come into you know, we do identify a hot spot, like you've done with me over and over again, Hakeem. If you are personally or professionally connected to anybody that's involved in these types of problems, you know, I think we've got to talk about it and make sure we're moving in the right direction, looking for solutions.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Back to Mr. Singh. Code enforcement report.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. So as expected with our building permits due to the pandemic, we are significantly lower this time, as of this time last year. I mean, we are very, permit-wise, we haven't seen a lot of construction. We did have a good month or two. Normally our season is from March to August. This year it was from July to August. For example, we are almost 650 permits short from this time last year. So construction work has slowed down significantly here in Norristown. But one of the things we were able to take advantage of during the pandemic, when we were closed to the public, but we were still, you know, performing our day-to-day operations. One of the projects we were able to continue working on was our open permit project. As you may all recall, back in June of 2018, we had identified almost 2,600, 2,599 to be exact, open permits from 2013 till June of 2018. And I'm happy to report, as of yesterday, 85.84%, or 2,231 of those permits have now been closed. we were able to reach out to all of the property owners and the contractors and schedule the necessary progress and final inspections for those permits. So now we actually only have 368 permits open from that time period of 2013 to June of 2018. And out of those 368, many of them have been put on an extension plan where they're still working on the project, or either the permits they requested to temporarily suspend them because they're in the process of legal issues of changing contractors and so on and so forth. But we're going to continue to keep an eye on those 368 permits, and hopefully we will have all of them buttoned up by the end of this year, by the end of next year. So that's going to be a significant win for our building division. Going on to our property maintenance, just like I was saying earlier in the night here, we have been very proactive with our property maintenance and our proactive code enforcement. So as I had shared earlier, in 2019, we found a total of 11,324 violations. So far in 2020, we have actually found 16,871. So once again, in 2020, we significantly increased our proactive enforcement and holding property owners accountable for municipal code issues at their properties. Going on to property transfers, this is something we have been struggling with. We, along with almost every other jurisdiction in the Philly metro area, are experiencing a lot of properties changing hands right now. That being said, I mean, we're getting applications like we've never seen before. So what's happening is we have a higher volume of applications than we can review, process, assign to an inspector, and then the inspector is actually going out to schedule those and perform those inspections. So when we first saw that we were seeing a significant increase, we actually assigned more inspectors to cover that workload. So previously, we would have 2 inspectors perform all of the property transfer inspections, and it was manageable. Whereas now we actually have double that and sometimes even more. That way we can maintain the additional workload and continue to meet everybody's closing, settlement dates and so on and so forth. So that is maybe one thing council has been hearing about, people. I'm not going to say word complaining, but maybe people are complaining that we're not turning them around fast enough. But I can promise you that we are still one of the fastest departments in this area for turning around any type of building permit, any type of rental inspection, and property transfer inspection as well. Related to our rental inspection program, as I was saying earlier, even with our shutdown that had occurred back in March and April, we've still continued to perform rental inspections. Obviously, we haven't been able to perform as many per day like we normally would due to, the changing of PPE and explaining to people the processes and asking them the, necessary questions before we walk into a property. But believe it or not, we have actually, even with that gap of, a few months where we weren't performing inspections, we actually performed already as many inspections as we did in 2019. And with these next 22 working days we have left in December, I'm confident that we will continue to increase that statistic regarding that. Related to our administrative side, Mr. Jones, Patrick, Mr. Kilkenny, and we've been working diligently regarding the other code updates, which some of them will be in front of before you council at the December 15th council meeting. So they're going to be the property maintenance code. Currently, we're on the 2012 edition of the property maintenance and housing code, and we will be proposing to adopt the 2021 property maintenance code but not just adopt the 2021 property maintenance code. We actually are going to be securing a license from the ICC to actually create our own code, which we are calling the Norristown Building Safety, Property Maintenance, and Housing Code. And what that's going to allow us to do is obviously allow us to tailor a lot of these international code standards, housing standards, to fit Norristown. But the biggest advantage of getting this license is going to be we will actually be able to publish our building safety, property maintenance, and housing code on our municipal website and actually have it codified, whereas right now we reference the 2012 property maintenance code. So what that means is with us having the license, we can actually now publish each and every code section and requirement. So this will make it easier for our business owners, the landlords, to be able to download a copy of the code book. So now they will not be able to say, I don't know what the code is, I'm not sure what my responsibilities are. They will actually have the code in their hand so they know exactly what they are responsible for. And this would also assist our residents to know what the responsibilities and roles and duties are of the landlord for providing a safe home to them. So that's going to be a really big ticket item, and we look forward to bringing that in front of council at this next workshop meeting. Some of the other code updates we're bringing before you are for property transfer, just a small little amendment to make it a little bit more reasonable. For example, right now we have when a property transfer occurs, we require it for all buildings. One of the things we want to do is if it's a new construction building, instead of requiring them to first have all of these inspections done for the new inspection of that building, and now they have to do a repetitive housing inspection, we want to kind of eliminate that. That way it's easier for people to build new structures and be able to sell them when we were just there a week ago, issuing them a brand new certificate of occupancy. Some of the other things we're bringing before you are contractor licensing. One of the biggest things we want to do is we just want to make sure that people are qualified and our property owners, our homeowners, our senior citizens are not being taken advantage of by unqualified and shoddy contractors who are just looking to make a quick buck and not actually do the work to code. And a couple of the other items are going to be related to real estate where banks own the property, and unfortunately we are still in the middle of a global pandemic, and so far we've been, I'm not going to say the word lucky, but so far we haven't felt the true impact of the pandemic as far as the housing crisis here in Norristown. But once this federal moratorium expires, and I'm not sure what's going to happen at the state level, what's going to happen at the federal level, but we are bracing for impact here at the building department, where we're going to see a significant increase of calls from our residents regarding issues that they're having, or a landlord trying to perform an illegal eviction. And one of the things I would just like to request council is, if you do have any community members reach out to you, please let them know. Please encourage them to call us now instead of waiting till the last minute. That way we can go out and do those property unit inspections and hold the landlord accountable, because whether or not they paid the rent, they still have to be provided a safe housing. So the landlord is still responsible to make the necessary repairs, even if the rent is not paid. So if anybody is in need or is possibly being harassed by their landlord, please do contact us as soon as possible. And the last item is that we're gonna bring some updates related to our rental registration and inspection ordinance. Once again, just to tighten up our ordinance, close out some of the loopholes that we've been able to identify. Even though we've been significantly increasing our enforcement, there are still some loopholes that we want to close out. And then last but not least, on the financial side, the code department, one of the things going back to when we were closed to the public, one of the things we were able to do was run reports on, any outstanding permit fees, rental license fees, people that owed us quick tickets. And with the assistance of the finance department, we actually sent out, over 2,500 letters for outstanding invoices. And I think that really helped us put us in the position that we're currently in financially at the building department, where we have already met our 2020 revenue goals, and we're actually currently in a net total. And I think that would not have been possible, especially with the significant decrease of our permit fees being almost 650 permits short from this time last year. That was not going to be possible unless we did do that proactive revenue collection effort. So that really did help us out meet our financial 2020 goals. And other than that, I don't have any updates, and I do look forward to sometime either at the January workshop meeting or the February workshop meeting presenting a 100+ page 2021 annual report. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Singh. Mr. Danabo, bring us home.
Good evening, Council. I'm going to make it very short. We are still in the annual leave pickup. We started on October 21st, and we'll be concluding it on the 11th of December. Hoping that we don't get snow before then. Then when we finish this annual leave pickup, then we're going to transition to getting ready for snow. Because the same equipment that we're using for the leaf pickup and the same people that we're using for the leaf pickup is going to be people that will be using for snow and ice control too. So, but apart from that, we are very much ready with the preparations. As soon as the leaf pickup is over, then we'll transition fully to snow and ice control mode. And we have been we finished putting on the Christmas lights on our major streets, Main Street, Marshall, and then the new banners that we acquired, holiday banners we acquired, and I think they are looking very good. We'll be putting the Christmas tree sometime this week. We would have done that probably today, but the rain that we had yesterday made the ground very soft, so we couldn't get the tree. So hopefully this week we'll be able to put the Christmas tree, and that's all that I have.
Thank you. Councilman Jones. I can't hear you. Type your question. I'm going to switch to President Perry while you type, and then I'll read your question for you.
Just two questions. I know you know the weather. How many snow days are we going to have this year?
You know, I'm sure if I know the number of snow days, then I'll probably be the smartest person around here. But I don't think I am. But I really think.
How many days? Come on. How many days? You're always good at it, just saying how many snow days we're gonna have. How many snow days?
You know, the most important thing is that we're ready. If it comes big, we'll be ready. If it comes small, we'll be ready. If it's medium, we'll be ready. We're ready.
All right, good. My second question is in regards to trash pickup. We've been having Mascara miss a lot of the trash pickup. And it seems like possibly some people are getting their trash picked up 2 weeks later and so forth. Are they giving us a report to let us know what specific areas they are missing? Because we're getting a lot of emails in regards to missed trash pickup, and I know, you know, they're going through the pandemic and stuff like that, and I know they're all over the place, but are they keeping track of that so they can go back and possibly pick it up at another date?
And I'm going to say that I know that Mascara had some problems, but I was trying to let them know that that problem is that they just have to find a way to solve it. And we put pressure on them. And to answer your question, they have a list of areas they miss, and they get back to it as soon as possible. But one thing that is clear is that the 2 zones we have now, assuming they missed a particular, the one on yesterday was because of the rain. The rain was such a problem for them that they could not finish their route. And because they have a full route for today again, if they do whatever they do for yesterday to compensate for what they missed yesterday, it will affect today. So that's what I'm working on, working with them to tell them, if you run into this kind of problem, you need to have a float truck. And in all honesty, they are ready to have this float truck, but they might not even have the drivers or people that will operate this float truck. So most of them, in fact, I have something in writing from them, or keeping a float truck in Norristown all the time. But the problem at times, they don't even have the driver or the operators that will operate this float truck, either because of the pandemic or some other thing. So,
Mr.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, I also wanted to add, you've been getting a report from Pat Mascaro that I forward to you every month. I expect that I'll get it in the next couple of days. They're usually within the first week of the following month. Pat Mascaro will send me a report of activity that they've had, and I forward that on to council.
And I'm going to say that that report came today. Maybe you've not seen your email, but it came today. It came much later today, Crandall, just to let you know.
Okay. All right.
All right, and we have Councilman Jones' nice comment in the chat for you. He's run into young men. Oh, first one. He's very appreciative of your local hiring in your tenure, specifically in the areas of giving young men between ages of 18 to 21 opportunities to live and work in the town they grew up. He's run into young men, one who reached a 6-month union status and another who's working towards 2 years. And they have yet to hit the ages of 24. They are buying their first cars, moving into their own homes, and setting a great example for the young people behind them. Thank you, Councilman Jones. Council, any other questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Odenabo. Thank you, Mr. Singh, Chief Talbot, all our department heads for all your hard work, and all your staff for their hard work, especially in a year like 2020. I think with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
I got something.
President Perry.
Everybody out there, be safe. This COVID thing is getting a little bit more ridiculous than it's ever done. If you need to go get checked, go get checked. It is no joke on some people's respiratory systems, where you're coughing and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So be safe out there, and thank you, staff. Yes, definitely. Thank you. I ditto that, Vice President Smith.
I ditto your please be safe. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? All right, the meeting's adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too. Everybody enjoy your night.